What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different than what I usually do. We're not going to work on a console at all. I got to playing around with I have all these LEDs and I buy them all the time, so I just like to play with them. And the other day, because I was bored and I didn't have anything better to do with my entire life, I made a light, a very bright light, and it got me thinking. Now, all I did on this particular light was I soldered in a bunch of pure white and warm white LEDs, and I wired up. I just took a USB cord, cut it off, wired up positive and negative, and then I wired basically a 47 ohm resistor in front of each one, carried main power down one side, or well, both sides of the board, jumpered it across, and so they're wired up, not in parallel. They're wired up in series. No, correction, in parallel. So, sorry about that. They're wired up in parallel. So main power comes in, comes all the way down, and then each one jumps off the main power leg and comes back, and ground is tied back down the middle. Just a quick job on a quick breadboard, just to see what to do. So, at any rate, we're going to set that aside for now. So, I got to looking around at the different breadboards I had, and the different lights I had, and all the different things that I had, because I had an idea about making my own softbox, because I've got several of them and I always need more light, and I kind of started on this one. I was like, maybe not. And then I started on this one. I was like, maybe not. That's still not big enough. And then I got to thinking, you know what I could make that would be really, really cool? And what I should make is I need a UV light for retro brighting. That's what I need. And I don't have one, and I thought about buying the string lights, and I've got those, and they suck, and they're not very good, and, the whole deal. And I thought, you know what, I can just buy UV lights, and I started tearing into this a minute ago, and then I decided to record the video on it, but what I thought is, I can just buy a much, much, much bigger board, and I can make, because I'm crafty like that, quite the UV light that I'm going to need. Now, I ran this through, and I'm going to pull the app up for you guys. I just have to go find it, because I don't... No, it's not that one. It's Every Circuit. Every Circuit by MuseMaze makes a cool little app, right? And this is him. I'm going to try to keep it out of the light for you guys. What you can do is you can go over to the projects that you created. Now, you do have to pay for this. It is not a free app. But you can pretty much design your circuit any way you want to, with whatever you want it. So here's what you need to do this, right? And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, and let me see if I can turn down these soft boxes and make it a little bit easier for you guys to see what's going on my screen. So, what I've done, and I'm trying to pinpoint this for you just right, is I basically designed the circuit right here. And here's what I needed to know. I needed to know these LEDs, what the nanometer rating was. So these are UV, 395 nanometer is the wavelength. Long lead positive, 3 to 3.2 volts, 20 milliamps. Okay, which that's what I want. There's 100 in this package. So what I did is I went on Every Circuit and I created a circuit right on here. And what I wanted to do was figure out how many I could put on a circuit, and I'll see if I can zoom in and show you. And what I ended up with was 60 on this particular circuit, and that I could drive. And the cool thing about this is you can add each one, and you can click on it and pull up I set them all to 3 volts and 20 milliamps and the whole 9 yards and all of that stuff. And what I came up with on this, I'm just getting rid of all this stuff, is that with the LEDs, once you set all of that, you can also set your input voltage. I set it at 5 volts. You can also then set your resistor, because what I didn't want to do on this circuit was I did not want to do the same thing that I did here, right? Whereas on this guy right here, if you guys can tell, I had to put a resistor in line at every one. What I wanted to do is not resistor, or main power leg coming down one side of the board and then jumping off to a resistor and then hitting the LED and then coming over and the same thing. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to put one resistor in place and only one resistor in place, feed 5 volts to it, and spit out what the proper voltage would be. Now, that's going to fluctuate some as more of these LED diodes are put in place. Every circuit allows you to build that entire circuit the way you want it, all the way out, from top to bottom. Adding as many of these components as you want. Now, I will say this. The free trial version only allows you to add 4 or 5 components at a time. $15 though, $14.99, will allow you to add as many as you want. And you can add any number of resistors, diodes, switches, Zener diodes, I mean, and OR gates, NAND OR gates. You can add all sorts of stuff, timers, 555 circuits, DACs, everything. You can add all of that to one. And the magical part is, again, you can literally fire the circuit up and watch it work. And it will go in, you can go in, and I'll see if I can zoom way in. What it's going to tell me here is that this particular diode right here is going to draw 19.2 milliamps, which is exactly what these, well, I say it's exactly, it's give or take what these are rated for. And what it also tells us, again, is we're outputting 5 volts, but the backside of our resistor is going to spit out 2.99 volts. Now, we can modify what that spits out with our resistor by changing its value a little bit, right? So we're at 1.8 ohms here, and we can, sorry, let me go back over here to my resistor. We can, it's a little bit tough on screen, take our little arrow and we can change him to 1.5. Okay? And it's going to update the circuit in just a second. It takes sometimes with big stuff. So we didn't really get any jump other than we jumped up to 2.99 exactly volts. We can drop him all the way down. The cool thing is, if you'll watch, as I rotate this around and drop my resistance down or increase it as I go around my circle. What do we got going on here? Here we go. Sorry about that. Let me back out of that and pull him back up. Okay. So what we're going to do, you can see the circuit flowing. If I tap on my resistor and I go in and I start changing it, you can see that it's dimming the lights on there. And it does it in real time. So if I were to go in and drop a 5 ohm, give or take, 5 ohm resistor, my lights would barely light up. And what it's going to tell me is that I'm now spitting out 431 milliamps from the resistor, and I'm getting 7.43 milliamps at each one of those with 2.84 volts. If I decrease that all the way down to, say, 1 ohm, what it's going to pop up and tell me once it does the calculations, each one is going to draw 33 milliamps, and I'm spitting 3.8 volts out the other side. Now, the cool thing is, again, you can take and crank this guy up to where it shows the little fire symbol on them. Okay, get this in view. Okay, and that little fire symbol means we've blown them all. Okay, and as we go the other way and increase resistance, our lights go all the way out till they don't work. So, what is ideal for us on this? This is 1.61. That's going to output 3 volts at 28. So all I'm trying to do is I want to get us to our 20 milliamp on the spot, and keep my voltage as high as possible. So right now we're again at 18.7 milliamps at 2.99 volts. We're going to start decreasing him 1.79, 1.68. Okay, this is close enough. Well, we're going to push it all the way to the limit. There we go. So if I stick a 1.72 ohm resistor in this circuit, each one of these will get 3 volts at 20 milliamps exactly, and that's supplying it with 5 volts. Now here's the cool part. Again, if we zoom in, it will tell us that on our 5-volt rail we're going to be drawing exactly 1.61 amps, and this is an important thing because whatever charger you're going to use, if you're going to use a 5-volt, whatever charger, and again, this will allow you to change. If you want to drive it with 12 volts, you need a different resistor, things like that. Maybe if you're going to drive it with 12 volts, you need to put a 7805 chip in line to output 5 volts to get this, which I could do, but I wanted to be able to drive this with a standard USB plug. So, glossing over all of that, first thing we had to do was we had to order a breadboard big enough so we could actually do some work. Second thing we had to do was we had to order enough LEDs where we could actually do some work. And the third thing, and the thing that I have overlooked this entire time, is I had to buy, I've got to make sure that I've actually got a 1.7 ohm resistor, which I don't. I've got a 1 ohm, I've got a 1.5 ohm, and I've got a 2.2 ohm. So we're going to go back over to our every circuit, and we're going to say if I drop this down to 1.5 ohms on the money, what will this do to us? 22.8 milliamps gives us 3.02, and we'll now draw 1.32 amps. If I go up to a 2.2 ohm, because remember, this is all I have available. 1, 1.5, and a 2.2. If I do that, each one of these dims a little bit. They're only getting 2.96 volts. So what we're going to do is go with a 1.5. I'm going to move him back up. And 1.5 on 5 volts gives us 3.02 volts out and 22 milliamps on the back side. That should be fine. Now, again, the way these are wired is common power rail, one power line in, all of them connected to the same line in. So they are now wired in series or parallel. My brain went blank for a minute. But glossing over my brain going dead. They are all wired in series, right? Or in parallel. Correction, in parallel. So we got our one resistor out. So what we now have to do is go and figure out how we're going to lay out 60 of these, because that's what I've got on my board. How we're going to lay out 60 of these on a board and make him all work. Well, you don't have any capacitors in here. I don't want any capacitors in it. This needs to be easy. Now, once we're done making this circuit, which I'm going to speed through the whole thing, by the way. I'm going to just start attaching stuff and go from there. Once we're done building all of this, we're going to test it. So I've got a cool little tool, and if you don't have one, I do highly, highly, highly recommend getting one. Get one of these guys. This is an adjustable circuit board holder. I absolutely love mine. I got this a long time ago, and I use it frequently. It's great when working on consoles or other boards or stuff. You can just simply slide your legs in, cam in your board where you want him, tighten him up just a little bit, and now I can take and pivot and rotate this board any way that I want to, okay? And I can do it real easy. I can slide him up or down, move him around. This is a great little tool. If you don't have one, you should definitely invest in one. Okay, so first things first, we're going to take our 1 ohm resistor and we're going to start. Now this board is labeled from A to 1 up top of here. So if one's up here, this is A1 all the way up top. This is where we're going to start with our resistor. We're going to keep the entire A rail. You know what we're going to do? This is what we're going to do. We're going to come right here, right here, right here. We may, tell you what, I changed my mind. First thing we're going to have to do is figure out how exactly we're going to start fitting in 60 of these LEDs before we figure out where the resistor is going to be. So let's get out a handful. We'll put our resistor right over here for now so we don't lose him. Positive leg is long on these guys. These are 5mm LEDs. So, I'll tell you what I want to do. We're going to drop off of one leg. When I say drop off of one leg, what we're going to do is we're going to drop one row down and one row in. And that's going to give us room on our back side of our board. Oh, you guys can't even see that. We're going to drop one row in, one row down. Okay, so that's going to give us room on the back side of our board to crank that guy up. Sorry about that. Make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. That'll give us room to pass our power rail down one side, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these and stick him in, and we're going to find our spacing, which is not going to be side by side. Probably going to have to skip a hole in the middle at best. No, it's going to be 2 holes in the middle. 2 holes in between, because if we don't, they will be butting up to each other. And here's what we're going to do. Now that I have my rough spacing, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to skip that first rail. I'm going to drop him in. I'm going to fold my positive leg over. That's going to hold him roughly in place. Let's skip 2 holes. And we're going to fold our positive leg over. We're going to do this fold the positive leg over dance all the way down the board. Okay? So I tell you what, while I'm doing this, I'm going to fast forward through it. Real quick, here's what we're going to do. We're going to fold all of our positive legs over, and we're going to solder them all the way out to this final pad right here, right? And we'll join them all together. And our negatives are all going to go the same way until we get to the end, and then both legs will jump across. We'll stop 2 rows short so we can carry positive down, positive back, positive and negative down, all the way to this end, and we're going to zigzag back down the board until we get all 60 of these guys in. Okay? So bear with me. We're going to fast forward. Okay, everybody, welcome back. So, I've got everything wired up. I did run into one small problem that I actually anticipated when I did this project, but I didn't. They just haven't arrived yet. They should be here shortly. What I have to have now is a 1 amp resistor, which I don't have. This is a half amp resistor, and it is immediately going to overheat. This is 60 LEDs, exactly like we talked about, exactly as the circuit shows. I turned it on for a second, and instantly, like I said, the resistor over here started pouring smoke out of it. I say pouring smoke, it didn't pour smoke, but you could tell it was getting overheated rapidly. But I wanted to, let me kill some of these lights real quick, and we'll plug him up. And see what comes of it. There you go, 60 LEDs. And we're not going to leave him plugged up for too long. Like I said, the resistor is definitely overheating, and that's bad. Like I said, I've got a 1 amp rated resistor coming. We'll swap him out as soon as he gets here. But that is 60 LEDs. Doesn't feel too hot yet, but the day's young. Tell you what, let's burn a resistor out just for giggles. Let's see what happens. Let's plug him up. It shows I'm drawing 0.9 of an amp. Is what it shows I'm drawing on my little meter. Yep, there he goes. He is definitely heating up, definitely burning off. I don't know if you guys can see the smoke coming off of it yet or not, but we are definitely overheating that guy and pulling everything we can out of him. Tell you what, I don't want to destroy the LEDs, so we're going to go ahead and unplug him. That was definitely quite a bit of heat for that one resistor. She's nice and, oh yeah, she's toasty now. Definitely nice and hot. But, so the moral of the story is, if you want to drive 60 LEDs, you just need the proper amperage rated resistor. That is, you can scale this up, by the way, guys. That was only, there's not really any heat anywhere else in it, I don't feel. Yep. So if you wanted to drive even more of these, obviously, and I think we're going to, I may take the remaining ones and leave this middle line in, and then fill up a row, fill up more of these, and just adjust my resistor to match. Or I might dual feed these. Who knows? You know, I've got several USB chargers that take 2 leads coming in. I may just pull another USB lead and pop him in at some point and see what we can make happen with that. But at any rate, as a quick little video, I thought I'd give you guys a little how-to on that. All I've done, as you can see on the back, and I tell you what, let me pull this down, the camera down. All I've really done, let me kill some lights so that you guys can make that out a little bit better. There you go. Try to turn this one down just a little bit and get it in a decent light. Focus. All I've done is started on this side, come through the resistor, and then literally daisy chain these guys together. At the very end, I jumped across with a red wire and came back across. And then I took my second set and put them in so I could just fold the legs straight to that, and then jumped all the way to the bottom, tagged those across, and then something very similar with the grounds, all the way down, put the second set in backwards so I could come straight to those joints. Obviously, if we were going to turn this into like a massive project, we put it in a case and all those things, but we're probably not going to turn it into a huge project by any stretch of the imagination. Probably going to hold this guy right where he's at and not do a whole lot more with it. But like I said, I wanted to show you guys that. That is our USB powered. Once we get him all done, the rest of the LEDs in, and get the proper driver or get the proper resistor in it, that will throw out a lot of UV light, which will be great for retro brighting. It'll put a whole lot of light in one area. And, you know, like I said, if you wanted to, you could always drive this with a 12-volt circuit and put a 7805 in it and just drive it with 12 volts, and you get a lot more out of it. LEDs are fun that way. There's literally no limit to what you can do with just a couple of LEDs and some resistors. At any rate, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.